everyone, Fiona here. Now this is week 4 of our subscription set and it is for our second hardest Pilates class. So again, those who are improvers and then towards the intermediate level. Okay, so at this time of the year, often a lot of people want to do more activity, get into better routines and better habits. And a lot of you may be doing more walking and some of you may even be trying to do some running. Recently we've started a Couch to 5K in Glenorville, and so just from a physiotherapy point of view as well as a Pilates instructor point of view, I want to preempt any little difficulties that might happen, particularly around the hips and knees and lower limbs, Achilles tendons, etc., when people do start to up the load. So even if you're already a regular walker, this will just keep you healthy, and if you're taking up any new exercise, again, this class can be quite helpful to work on principles of strength around particularly core, hips and knees and thighs. Okay, so for that class we're going to need 2 pieces of equipment as well as your mat and towel. So I would like you to have one looped resistance band, and if you don't have one in a loop you can tie a knot in a particular one, but nothing really too tight. So that's my medium resistance of the 3 bands. And this is a sliding disc, okay? If you don't have one of these, it's got a felt background there which slides on the floor. A face cloth would probably be suitable on a timber or tile floor. It won't work on carpet, okay? So you're going to just be using it for a couple of things, just to be sliding your foot on to help the hip control. Okay, so we'll warm up in standing. If you find this class too easy, by the way, and you are a runner, I also have a public class, a public access class. It's on the YouTube page directly and it's labelled an intermediate running focus class. Okay, so this is more getting you started if you are already a walker and you're upping your distance. So we'll pop these 2 things down for now, and we'll do our usual limbering up to warm up first of all, thinking about our Pilates principles while we are warming up our feet and ankles. So Joseph Pilates is the name of the man who designed the concept of exercises that if we were strong around our central region, so our core, our deep shoulders, our hips, that we would be able to function better. So really that's the principles that we then know that work, and we use that with our physio knowledge. So if you want to run, or if you want to walk more, you need to be strong enough to do that. And certainly gentle progressive transition with walking and running programs is important, that you don't go from doing nothing to suddenly trying to run a 5K. But if you are finding niggles and difficulties with strength, then you need to work on those. World Health recommendations, remember, to stay healthy, it's 150 minutes of your aerobic exercise per week, but it's also 2 or 3 strength and flexibility sessions per week to allow you the strength to be able to do the tasks that you want to do. So now we're walking and we're thinking about our Pilates. So we want to lengthen the spine, we want to hold in our deep tummy muscles and gently pull up underneath through the pelvic floor. And that will help us to stay in our neutral bucket position rather than being too arched or too rounded in your back. So tall spine. With the opposite hand and leg working, we're just starting to warm up our shoulders and particularly now our arches and our calf muscles, and really using our Achilles tendons here and using our muscles of the sole of the feet. So anybody who's had plantar fasciitis, where the fascia can get inflamed in the heel, they also need to get stronger as well. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Now I want you to pause where your heels are just off the mat, so not too high, and now try and sit back into a little squat. So the heels are off the mat. I know that can put pressure sometimes more forwards on the knees, that's why it's not too high yet. And now we're going to strengthen our calf muscles by rising higher and lowering the heels. So we're rising a little higher if your toes allow it. Touch something if you do need to. Really, this is calf strengthening for the deep calf muscles. Very important for running and walking up hills. So at all times now, our knees are pointing straight ahead. We don't want to let the knees cave in and be knock-kneed. So I'm rising up onto the forefeet and lowering the heels almost a touch. And I'm going to do 3 and 2 and 1. Very good. Now we want to get our heels down, stand up straight, take one foot back behind, and that heel is now right down in the mat, and that calf is now stretching. So we lean forwards into that, straight line through the body, and lift the hands up here. Tucking your ribs so your abdominals are now working as well. Stretching that rear calf and pulsing your arms with the 100th movement of the arms. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5 pulses. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5 pulses. Stretching the rear calf. Weight through the front foot as well. Kneecaps pointing forwards. And breathe. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Switching the feet. Keep the kneecaps pointing forward. Get the weight through the back heel. Lean into it. Feel the stretch in the calf behind. Squeeze those shoulder blades. And pulse the hands. Very good. And come up top. Okay, widen out the legs now. And we need to make our hips limber up. And we need to make our hips and thighs stronger as well. So we're now going into a sumo squat. Now I'll turn side on to show you. My back is straight as I press the hips back. Don't want to be too rounded. Pushing the back behind without overarching. Hands on hips just at the moment. And focusing on the kneecap angle, coming over the second toe. So not knocked in, wide angle with the toes, kneecaps facing the second toe. Now add the arm sweep. As you sit back, the arms are going to come up. As you stand up, the arms come down. And keep the back of your neck long for that. What I mean by that is never poke the chin up and hinge the neck. You can check your screen and then just go back to looking at your own form. Keeping your chin tucked. Keeping the hips going behind you. And feel the effort in your thighs. Limbering up the hips and the shoulders. And so we go for 4. And 3. And 2. And 1. Okay, a little bit more control now. Into a lunge stance. So here, watch that the knees don't knock in. Keep that parallel track feeling, shoulder, hip, knee. Now the front foot can step more forwards, and you don't have to come on the tiptoe there. You're coming down into a lunge and pushing back up. It's not very far. I'll go sideways just to show you, keeping your knees on those parallel tracks, bending up the back foot, keeping your body upright. Just lunge down into that and push up. Now allow the arms out to the side, just hold the arms out to the side. Really pull the shoulders down away from the ears while you hold the arms fixed there. 4. And 3. 2. And 1. And we switch to leg position now. So remember again, anytime you go into anything like a lunge position, hip distance apart, knees pointing forwards, not deviating inwards. We're working on our hip control here, our knee strengthening. You feel a little stretch in your hip flexor as you come down and keep the body upright. Continue now, you can put the arms out to the side. Just warm a knife out in here. And another 3. And 2. And 1. Very good. So shake off the legs there. Now we'll try this slider. So again, if you don't have the disc available, if you're standing on a regular floor, as long as it's not carpet, Probably this will work with a face cloth underneath the foot. It's very quick anyway. If it doesn't work for you, just try some more lunges or without the slide. Okay, so put it under the right forefoot, working the left leg now. We're going to sit back and let that slide in front of us a little bit and pull back up. Now I'm going to slide it behind me, should give myself room there. So I'm now going to slide it back and pull my foot up. Now I'm going out to the side. This leg bends, but see how I want to keep that kneecap pointing straight ahead and not letting it twist in? And come back up. Now repeat the 3. Sit back, leg in front, leg behind, and to the side. Now it is quite challenging on this leg, and it is strengthening for it, and it is strengthening for this knee. If it's really difficult for you, just don't go so far on the slide. Put more pressure through your toe, if you like, on the sliding leg, just to take the force off this leg. But again, if you want to be able to up the distance, or up hills, or increase ability to run, you do need to get stronger. So we should work till you're tired, slow and steady, all control, keeping our center working, and back in. And we switch over the leg, okay? So shake off just for a moment, that knee should feel tired. Okay, so now this time again it's under my left foot and I'm going to sit back first, foot in front. Okay, and then reverse that foot behind. Body still staying steady in the middle and out to the side. Watching this kneecap again, let's keep it pointing straight ahead. And again. 1, 2, and 3. Twice more. Can you do the 3 reps to finish? Get tired. 1, 2, and 3. Very good, and the legs should feel that. So shake that off and you can move over your disc. So now you're going to take your resistance band. So we know when people are walking and running, often hip flexors in here can get really quite tight and irritable. Maybe you've exercised in the day, you've been sitting down on a low couch at night and you go to get up and oh, those first few steps are hard. That does happen to me as well. So let's make our hip flexors work isometrically to make them stronger. So I want you to step into your band, 2 feet into it. Okay, now that shouldn't be too puckered up on your legs, it's just above the knees, about 6 inches. Standing face on or side on to you so you can see. Touch something if you have got difficult balance. We want to make our hip flexor work here. Now I may not get this up to 90 degrees, otherwise the band will start riding up my leg, but even if I'm about 60 degrees hip bend here, now my bent hip is constantly working against that band. Keep the 2 kneecaps pointing again straight ahead, don't let it deviate in. Keep the pelvis straight ahead, and let's do our hundreds. Breathe in for 5 pulses. Out for 5 pulses. And we are constantly isometrically working the bent hip here. The other leg is pushing straight, so it's resisting against the band. And our shoulders are going to work now, bring them back a little further. Keep balancing. We're holding this hip flexor working. 3, 2, 1, and set down. Now for the right hip now, I want you to take that leg back, but do try not to arch the back. So stand really tall, touch the toe if you find it difficult to balance, stand really tall now, imprint tighter now, and draw that leg behind you, even heel leading the way if you can. Touch something if you have to. So you're working your glutes here, you're releasing your hip flexor, you're holding your core strong, And if you do have any difficulty with the lower back here, if you feel any pinch, just lessen the range. It's just you're finding you're dipping into back extension. So stand tall, tummy in, 3, 2, 1, and set down. Shake off the legs. Same again, now hip flexion on the same leg. So the right one again. Imprint, flex up, stay tall now, hold it steady. We'll try arm circles if your balance can manage. So we're breathing out, come up. Don't let that kneecap wobble inwards now. Keep it pointing straight ahead. If you can get right up into 90 degrees without the band rising, that's even better. You'll get more resistance. Okay, now your standing leg is working hard. Your standing leg is working hard for stabilization, and your bent leg is working hard in the hip flexor. And the last 3, and 2, and 1. Okay, we'll set down that right leg. We'll step it back, keeping your foot down this time, bend the front knee. And so you're getting a little release of that hip flexor with the band still in situ there, not wriggling up too much. Just tummy pulling in now so that you can actually feel the hip flexor in front stretching. You won't feel it if you've allowed your tummy to be slack and the back to arch. So you're imprinting there. 3, 2, 1, and now it's the other leg. So this time, stand tall through the right leg. This glute's working on the side. Stay tall, flex up the left leg, hold it at an angle where the band doesn't rise, and begin your hundreds arm pulses. Abdominals are still working. This is where the core and the hips are working together to stabilize your body. Try to remember that when you're walking and running, a lot of it is there's a single leg touching the ground. So when you're striding forwards with the moving leg, the single leg is touching the ground. And if that single leg can't stabilize you, you will have some rotational force around that hip and knee, which can lead to difficulties. So we are standing tall, our kneecaps are pointing straight ahead, our tummy is in, we're not twisting our back, and we set down. Now we take the left toe back, hover it if you can, and touch it if you find the balance hard. Do not let your back overarch, holding the tummy really tight. Just pause, so you're working your glute on the left, you're standing tall through your glutes on your right, you're not allowing your back to overarch, you're squeezing the bottom muscle on the left, holding it. Okay, and set down, wriggle off, and last time for the hip flexor on the left. So now standing tall, tummy in, flex up the left, pause it, stay there, arm circles if we can. Don't let your hip fall off to the side here. Stand up tall. Okay, arm circles. So when you circle the arms up, the tendency would be for your ribs to poke forwards. Don't let that happen because you have to really tighten up the tummy muscles to maintain your balance. And we go for 3, and 2, and 1. Set down the left leg, step it back. You're going into the lunge, you're on the forefoot behind. The front leg steps forwards, putting the tension on the band. Again, not letting the band pucker up too much, and really sucking the tummy now. Really imprint. So that's that shortening ribs to pelvis, to feel the stretch now coming up the front of the hip flexor, which is now my left leg that's behind. That's that hip flexor I'm really feeling now. Hands out if I can balance. Continue to breathe. Well done. And standing up tall. Okay, nearly finished the standing phase. So still up tall, this time a little rotation. Okay, let's go just onto our toe here on the stance leg and not let the hips too far off to the side. So stand up straight again and just the clam with the toe either touching or certainly hovering if you can stabilize everywhere else. So you have to be able to keep thinking tall, Keep thinking tummy in, don't let these hips drop to the left. Okay, so you're putting the resistance on, external rotation for the hip. And again, pelvis staying steady here where my fingertips are, not turning. Can we do 3? Keep this all working through the center so it helps you to get the quality of movement better. And last one there. Okay, set that foot down on the tiptoe of the left. Again, stand tall as you externally rotate that left hip. Don't move the pelvis. Don't move the pelvis, stand tall. Strengthening the moving hip on the rotators and the stabilizing leg, standing really tall. Last 3. And 2. And 1. Very good. Okay, you can take this off the legs now. Allow yourself to bend a little. Okay, shake that off. We're coming back. We'll be using that when we are on the mat. Just checking there. Already done 21 minutes, so only 20 to go. Okay, let's roll down and release our back a little. Now the reason I did such a long standing phase was because generally these activities that we want to get better at are in standing. Okay, whether it's mountain climbing, more walking, running, or just being able to do your daily step count. So that's why I always have an element of standing in our Pilates classes. They're never fully on the mat because it's more functional sometimes to be upright. Now we're releasing any back tension through our roll down. Nice and slow and steady, last one. Very good. I'm coming on the mat in just a second, just to show you again, if I was weak in this hip, and if I was walking a lot with a weak hip, that pattern of internal rotation in this front knee may happen. So if I wasn't strengthening, and if I was running and landing onto that, and if I was very repetitively doing that, I may be building up a little bit of friction, tendonitis around here, or perhaps in underneath the knee. Okay, so this is why we're moving on now, down onto the mat, for more gluteal bottom muscle strengthening and more thigh strengthening, okay? And that does include our core, so we will still be working our core. What we'll do now is, if it's okay for you to work in double tabletop, and you've already worked out that you can get to double tabletop with good principles, then you can progress now to the band around the legs again. So we pop it on one, and we pop the second foot into it. Okay, and what we're going to do now is really set our center now, nice and strong, through pelvic floor up and lower tummy in. Maintain just that one great space under our lower back. Don't completely compress it, but also certainly don't let it roll away. Bring up the first leg to tabletop. Keep your imprint, so your ribs need to tuck down just a little, and bring up the second leg to tabletop. Okay, so now we're going to work one hip off the other, stretch out one, and bring the other knee even right up towards the chest. Now breathe. We won't do this quickly or the band will wrinkle. So we're now strengthening hip flexor of the bent and glutes of the straight. We're holding our center strong, and we're continuing to breathe. Return to center and switch the legs. So flex one, straighten the other, but hold it. And when you get stretched out like that, continue to be able to breathe or talk, so we know we're not just fixing the upper abdominals, we are using that deep corset. You can feel it there wrapping around, firm under the fingertips, kneecaps hip distance apart. Back to center, switch again, one more for each leg. So nice hip flexion, again hip strengthening. Push your shoulders just down into the mat. For the time being, they're not working. Plenty of other shoulder classes that we have done. And switch. return to tabletop with the band still in place, hip distance apart. Keep your right leg as steady as you can with the shin staying in tabletop and not moving. And open the left one to the side, pulling out, pulling out, pulling out, just as far as you can control, and return it slowly back in again. Now switch the leg, stabilize with the left and move the right, hip twist, opening to the side, and slowly back in again. So we want to keep our pelvis steady on the mat. Keep these pelvis bones in front, pointing straight up towards the ceiling, not rolling sideways. So your abdominals are helping now to control that. Imagine your pelvis is stuck in the mat like it's in cement. And the only thing that's to move is the leg that you're targeting. So the other leg stays really steady and still. And we're going to do that 4 more times. Now, pop down one foot and keeping your control, pop down the other foot, well done. Leave the band but take away your towel now. So we're going to bridge up using our bottom muscles. The first 2 that we do, that we're going to really roll through the spine, peel up and down. Just I'm conscious that we haven't really rolled the spine as much today, and I don't want some of you to get too stiff. So we'll do another one like that, really tucking up the tailbone first and rolling the spine up and rolling the spine back down again. And then we're going to stay in our neutral spine and we're going to clench the bottom muscles and drive up and set down while keeping the pressure on the thighs so that the knees don't cave in together. Now, if you'd like to make it harder, start with the feet wider, so you really have to then apply that upwards pressure to strengthen the sides of your hips. Again, we have plenty of people in physio who have weakness on these gluteus medius muscles, and when that weakness persists for quite a while, and especially then when they are trying to ask those tendons and muscles to take more force than they might be used to, often when the load is too much, suddenly the tendons get inflamed and you're stuck in a cycle of inflammation, which weakens you. So if you don't intervene with exercises, you stay weak and it persists in a nasty cycle of lack of sleep, etc. So we're trying to avoid that, and we're trying to make sure our hips are strong and can function with whatever we want to do to keep us healthy. So push out to the knees, squeeze up from the bottom. This is also strengthening for your lower back. If you push your shoulders down into the mat, it's also strengthening for your upper back. And we'll do 3 more here. Well done. Now your hips should be quite tired, so allow the feet to come closer together. You can even squeeze your knees and feet together now. Bring your towel back in under your head. Just work your abdominals for a moment to release the pressure on the hips. So it's abdo prep. Make sure your pelvic floor underneath is feeling like it's closed. It's squeezing upwards and inwards like you're not passing wind and water. And then you're sliding your ribs towards the pelvis. Inhale to go back again. Exhale, tuck those ribs down. Shorten that distance from the ribs to the pelvis, respecting any pain. We're not looking for any pain. We're just wanting to shorten our abdominals and tighten them up. So keep your pelvic floor upwards and inwards. Don't dome up here. Stay flat as you shorten the distance from your bottom ribs towards your hips. You can certainly support your head, but you don't tug your head. So you're not just pulling your head forwards and compressing your chin onto your chest. Your elbows stay out and you're using your abdominals. So we're going to do that for 3. And 2. And 1. Very good. Now leaving your band where it is, just pop your arms out to the side for a nice easy back reliever. Just roll the 2 legs to one side and do allow your pelvis to lift right up off the mat now, but just not to overarch your back. So your feet are just touching, or at least one foot is touching the mat. You don't have to worry just so much about your stabilization now. Let yourself move and stretch out through your side. And we go for 4. Exhale to move, that's 3. And 2. And 1. Well done. Make your way back into midline, and then you probably want to just use your forearm and your elbow to turn through your side and then push up to sitting. Now this time we're going to be up in sitting, but we're going to use our band now to strengthen our quadricep muscles, okay, our quads. So what I'm going to do is, if I do it on my left first, you'll see what I'm doing. I'm sitting up straight, I'm putting the band under the arch of my left foot, and I'm holding it like I'm holding reins of a horse, 3 fingers around the band and little finger just outside of it so it doesn't compress it too much. Okay, 2 hands holding it, sitting up straight. And the other knee could be straight, or it can be bent if your hamstrings are tight. Push straight now on this knee. Push straight on the knee. 3, 2, 1, and return it to bend. And again, harder now. Hold the band tight and push, 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 push straight on the left knee. And 3, 2, 1, return it back up. So all the time you're sitting up straight. If you can't manage that, lean back into a couch or something behind you. Now we're driving the leg away from us. That's the effort. Push it out, push it out, push it out, push it out. Hold those toes up. And return. And we'll do that 4 more times. It should start to feel tired. If not, just tighten your resistance. And 2. And 1. Set your heel down and lean forwards and release the tension on that side. So we'll straighten the other leg. We'll straighten it, sorry, we'll bend the other leg. So I'm now on my right. I'm going to sit up straight again. Hold the band. And drive the right leg straight. Watching the angle of the knee again, not twisting inwards, kneecap pointing the ceiling, towards the ceiling. Flex it back up, hold a little tighter, the shoulders staying down. Remember, anytime you're taking force through your arms, do not hitch the shoulders towards the ears. So you're anchoring those shoulders down. 3, sorry, that's not enough, is it? I've only done 3. We'll keep going. Balance it up with the other side. So say we do 5 more. 4. 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. Okay. Now, some of you may not like the clams lying on your side with a hip issue. So we're not going to choose them for this class. We're going to put it back around the thighs again as we started. And we're then going to turn over onto our hands and knees on all 4s. So anytime you're going onto your hands and knees, you do need to remember your shoulder and back principles. We certainly don't want our shoulders popped up around the ears, so the blades need to stay down. The breastbone needs to lift up so your shoulder blades are not popping up off your back. Okay, and now we're going to be working our hips. So the first one we're going to do is the fire hydrant, okay? We don't want the body to move anywhere. So you could put your disc on your lower back or feedback. Is that going to be able to stay steady? Keeping the tummy muscles in to do that. Can you open the right leg to the side? Just put the tension onto the band and inhale as it comes back in. Switch, open the other leg. Inhale as it returns. Exhale as you open the alternate leg. Keep your head in line with the body. Any of these Pilates principles, you're still strengthening even your neck at this point by not letting your head flop. You're still strengthening your deep tummy muscles because they're part of the stabilization to stop this thing wobbling on my back. And I'm really targeting the rotation in the hip, but we're not doing that in the clams. Sometimes I'm noticing that can be quite irritable, even though we want to get stronger in external rotation. This tends to be a less provocative way to do it. As long as your wrists can cope, and if they can't, try fist weight bearing on the knuckles, or try that technique with the rolled tube of towel just under the heel of your hand, so your wrists don't have to actually bend quite so much. You can also get handles that you can hold on to, or even putting weight through the tin cans in the hand can be nice on the wrist joints. We're nearly finished. 3, 2, and 1. Now take that off the back, okay, and hands back normally. Try hip extension. Push the leg behind you. You might not get it really high because the band might want to wrinkle, but you're still working one hip off the other. Let the same leg work again. Push it back. 3, 2, 1. Let it come in. And again, push that leg back. Squeeze your leg out behind you. That's quad and hip. Still core strengthening, still shoulder strengthening. 2 more on this leg. Switch the leg now. So we flex in the left, push out, flex it in, push it out. Remember, when you're doing that, you're not to be moving your back. So you're staying steady through your back and you're working your glute muscles and your hip flexors, still working a little bit in this position. Now, last 2 reps. We're nearly there. Set down. Brilliant. Okay, come up off those wrists. You can take off the band now, or you can come up to standing first and get it off, whichever way is easier for you. We're going to make our way through downward dog if you happen to still be on the mat. So the toes are turned under, you push the legs straighter. You're doing that pumping of the calf muscles now. One is bending as the other is pushing out straighter. We're limbering off now. I'm going to pick exercises to stretch the hips and thighs in standing or forward leaning so that you don't need your mat. So let's say you've done a run or a walk and you're out and about and you feel a little tight, you'd like to do a little cool down, and what can you do? So you could hold on to a fence if you need to, or a car, and then you can externally rotate your hip like this. So if I put this ankle on the front of the other knee, and if I need balance, I'll hold on to something and sit back. So now this hip is stretching, okay? So my thigh is taking the weight of the ankle. I sit back into it, tummy in here, holding that stretch. Come on back up again, and we'll do the other leg, okay? So first of all, get the external rotation. Anybody's knees that doesn't like this, that's okay. You could always support the knee joint here if you feel you need to do that. You again can stretch in different ways that do suit you. If your knee does not like external rotation of the hip at all, it's showing a weakness there too. Maybe a little bit of a medial joint line issue. Okay, and come on back up again. And now just again, if you want to lean back into anything, you can do. Pull your knee up and over towards your opposite shoulder. So you're stretching more underneath there. Okay, so we're just pulling it up in front. We're going diagonal so we can get more of the side of the glute med to stretch if that suits you. Remember, always listen to your own body. There's safety information. There's a YouTube clip within the page on the safety information. That's in all of the emails that are going by subscription. No pinching, no sharp pain. 4 out of 10 discomfort is acceptable once it goes away after the class and doesn't peak the following morning. So all that information is available to you all. And diagonal again on the other side. Okay, it's a nice dynamic hamstring stretch, and remember that certainly pre-exercise and pre-running movement should be dynamic. We shouldn't be static in our stretches. So I'm just putting my alternate foot forward, toes up, sit back into it, adding in the arm sweep, because we can feel more stretch when we're here. Okay, 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. We've done quite a lot of calf stretching throughout, but if you would like to put your hands against anything and stretch the calf back, we can do that. Or we can have our 2 hands forwards into a wall and our 2 legs back doing our downward dog. Calf pumping is also nice. And that way when you're up on the toe, that's good for the plantar fascia stretch as well. So I hope you're learning something as you go. And I've done 42 minutes. So I'll sign off now. For anybody who's using this one through the public page for running, walking rehab, again, you're welcome to email me or to look through the page for more info on our subscription courses. Well done everyone. Thank you. Bye.